we on? We on? We're on. So this is first take one. How do I get started in my Airbnb business? I started about 3 years ago, and I want to just cover maybe 3 ways you can get started with Airbnb, and then I'll talk a little bit about maybe how I started or how I'm doing it now. So Airbnb or short-term rentals are quite easy to start. You can start out as a manager with little investment, little risk. You're basically going to be managing someone else's listing for a percentage of the booking fee that they're charging per night. So, as a manager, you might be dealing with the clients or the guests that are staying there, and so you would be interacting with them, helping them get set up, making sure that you're communicating. You might also deal with the cleaning side of it, where you're scheduling cleaning, any maintenance that has to be done, that kind of stuff. Really similar to like a managing or a management company for a long-term rental, but you're just going to be doing this more so because there's going to be a lot more turnover. Normally, like in a longer-term rental, that's probably yearly. This may be daily, maybe every weekend, something like that. Secondly, you can do rental arbitrage. And rental arbitrage is really just subleasing. So you lease and then you sublease to short-term. You lease long-term and then you sublease short-term. Now, there's lots of people that may be trying to do this under the radar. I wouldn't suggest that. You can very easily work with a landlord, somebody who owns the property, a property owner. Let them know why you want to rent it, and really there's no risk on their part. You are going to pay them rent every single month, and then anything that you make on top of the rent would be considered profit by you renting out short term. So this is what we do. I don't own any of the properties that we manage or that we rent, and so there is some risk involved. Obviously, we pay rent, we pay all the utilities, we do all of that. We also furnish every property that we take on. And there's some creative ways to be able to work on that as well, and I can go through that in other videos. But rental arbitrage, buying a property is the last way. Buying a property, owning it, renting it out on Airbnb yourself. Oftentimes the barrier entry on that is a little bit higher because obviously you have to buy something in today's market. You're going to have to put a certain amount of money down if you're going to have to do any rehab to that house or whatever before putting it in. There's just a higher risk. Obviously you can rent that out traditionally. If it doesn't work out, for short-term rentals, you can always go with a long-term rental. And if that doesn't happen, you can always sell the property. So those are the 3 ways that you can get started with Airbnb or short-term rentals. And we chose to do rental arbitrage. And for me, the reason I started with that is I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of cash just to go buy a place, buy a duplex or buy something. And to be honest, when I first got started, it wasn't that easy for people or for me to find somebody who was willing to allow me to rent it. A lot of people were like, man, if I rent this to you, you're going to rent it out. People are going to have lots of parties. That's really because, most of the rentals, in fact, all of the rentals that I use or all the properties that I manage on short-term rental, they're all in rural areas. I don't have any vacation, quote unquote, vacation rentals. Although a couple or a few of my rentals are actually in about an hour away from a national park. So we do have people coming up from LA or from San Francisco, driving 3 hours, staying at our place, going to the national park, then coming back maybe for a weekend. We do get that, but it's not like the mainstay of who stays at our apartments or our houses. But most people's experience with Airbnb or short-term rentals, that is vacations. Most people go on vacations, they rent a short-term rental, they enjoy their time there. They have vacation lifestyle. Maybe that means, having people over, drinking, partying, or whatever. And so a lot of people, when you tell them, I'd like to rent your house, and then maybe, do short-term rental out of it, the first thing in their mind is like, oh, they're going to, people come in, they're going to thrash the house. And that's possible. I mean, technically it's possible. However, in our markets or looking at things outside of a vacation area, it's pretty rare. I mean, we've had, probably 400 stays or more. I mean, we've had over thousands of nights booked, and, we've only had a couple of, handful of guests that have not treated our house or apartment well. So that's just not really my experience with that. So I'm able to talk to owners and show them our track record and what we do and how we improve the house. So, it's definitely comes with some time. My first one, I had somebody take a risk with me. I asked them if they really if they wanted to partner with me on it, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I bought a course, like a lot of you may be thinking about buying a course and how to do this. And ultimately, that's what I'm going to be creating for those people who want to get started in rental arbitrage and what some things that you can do. The course that I bought gave me a lot of general information, but I learned a lot that there's a lot more things that you're going to need to do as you get started, and a lot of boxes you can check off to help get you going and make sure that you're not spending all the time in the day dealing with things. We automate a lot of processes so that even with 14 rentals, there is a chance that there are days where I don't deal with that rental side of things. So because we're able to automate a lot of things. So that's my first video. I know there's probably lots of questions. I didn't read into a lot of details. Rental arbitrage is what we use, but if you didn't have any money, or you didn't have anything, well, you could, sell some stuff. That's my first thing that I would tell you to do. But secondly, you could probably get started with doing management. There's a lot of groups that you can offer services in management and do that, be a co-host. And you could be a manager and make a little bit of money doing that. If people already have Airbnbs, they're just tired of doing the management side of it, dealing with guests, you could offer your services to that. Obviously, you make a little bit of money. You make a little bit more money depending on how much you can get rented and what you can negotiate as far as rent goes with rental arbitrage. We've been really successful. We try to net about $1,000 per unit or house or property. That's my goal. So when I look at the data, when I look at which I'll talk about in future videos, but when I look at the data and I'm looking at what I think I can rent this house for and how often I can rent it out for, I kind of work backwards in how much money we want to minimum we want to make, and then that's what I feel like we can rent it for, and that's what per day, and then what I can pay in rent to those property owners, and so we negotiate that a little bit. And then ultimately, if you have the money, you can buy a property, or you have a property, putting it on Airbnb is fairly simple. It's pretty straightforward. You take some pictures. You can use some software to identify like how much you should be renting it for. There's plenty of software out there, and again, I will tell you what we use in a later video. But there's software there that helps look at occupancy and demand and all of those things to help guide you in what you should be charging for your property. Ultimately, if you own it, then you can pay your mortgage and whatever. You could do this for vacation homes. People do it all over the time. I do find that there are city ordinances that you need to be aware of, things that they didn't tell me. You need to be able to review. If you want to get started, you need to look up the city ordinance and see what their laws or what their ordinance is for short-term rentals. How much transient occupancy tax or TOT do they charge for you to be able to have a short-term rental in that city or county? So those are things that you want to look up, and then you want to build those costs, those fees, those taxes into your pricing. Make sure you have those, and then make sure you're reporting them. I mean, the worst thing that you could do is not report that income and get hit with a big tax bill at the end of it. So if you're looking at how to do this and cheat the system, that's not this channel. I will tell you exactly how to do this, how to do it correctly, how to do it safely. Or safe as possible. There is inherent risk. Obviously, we invest thousands of dollars into a property when we take it and take it on. When we start renting it, just like you would, we furnish it and all of that. So, little caveat: when I started doing this, it was just by myself. Since my parents and I and my wife have all kind of created a corporation, so we all have little different parts that we do for this rental business. And we also started working with investors or landlords that wanted a piece of the Airbnb pie, but also wanted the security of having their normal rent. And so we came up with a creative way to be able to work with property owners and partner with them, not just straight management, but be able to share some of the profit while they share some of the risk. So I'll talk about that in future videos. If you are interested in any of this stuff and want some more tips, then please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, share it with people that you think may be interested, have a property, may be interested in putting that into Airbnb or short-term rental, because we're going to talk about some really cool things coming up, and maybe it relates to you. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Have a great day.